U.S. General Stubblebine reveals what is to be found on planet Mars. Albert Stubblebine, February 6, 1930 to February 6, 2017, was a U.S. general. He was also the commanding general of the U.S. Army's Intelligence and Security Command, INSCOM, one of the most distinguished and head of U.S. Army intelligence with 16,000 soldiers under his command. He was a great advocate of psychic hostilities and a key player in the Stargate project, which was a remote viewing program. Remote viewing can be identified in many ways as the ability of some individuals to be able to see and describe a remote geographical location up to several hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, sometimes even more, from their physical location. The results of the work were declassified and published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration, and in this program, subjects successfully described physical objects seen kilometers away from their location. This program was the inspiration behind the movie Men Who Stare at Goats and the book of the same name by John Ronson. According to Wikipedia, among others, Albert Stubblebine from 1981 to 1984 attempted to create a race of super soldiers, quote unquote, who would have the ability to become invisible at will and walk through walls. In fact, he tried to do it himself, to go through walls, but he did not succeed, as he described in 2004 interview. But what stands out is what Stubblebine said about Mars. Apparently, thanks to some distant viewers of the Stargate program, remote viewers, there are structures on the surface of Mars. For the record, I will tell you that there are structures under the surface of Mars that cannot be seen by Voyager's cameras that went in 1976. I will also tell you that there are machines on the surface of Mars, and there are machines under the surface of Mars that you can see. You can learn in detail. You can see what they are, where they are, who they are, and a lot of details about them, he said. A few decades later, Jason T. Wright, a professor of astronomy and astrophysics at Penn State University in the U.S., who is also a member of the Center for Exoplanets and Habitable Worlds, spoke out and said, it's possible that there are buried on Mars cities, factories, and spacecraft. After some controversy surrounding psychic experiments, Stubblebine took early retirement from the military in 1984. A few months later, he gave an interview, and among other things, he said, at the moment we speak on the planet Mars, there are flying objects that are made by intelligent beings. Some of them fly manned, others are in low orbit relative to the surface of the monitor and monitor both the ground and the airspace. On Mars, in several places, there are ruins of structures that can be called buildings or facilities. Many of them are disintegrated, and their pieces are scattered in a radius of several kilometers from their original location. They are clear examples of ancient technology. Ancient technology for them. For us, it's very advanced. I would venture to say perhaps 2,000 years ahead of us. Strange to many, but these technologies still work today, or at least while I was in the program. There are findings that refer to statues. There are statues, but in a way we are not yet able to perceive. Of course, there are structures like pyramids and sphinxes. One of those, this is pareidolia, games of light and shadows. What you may happen to see or see in the future in various photos of future vehicles that will reach Mars are all real. But there are also things that lie beneath the surface. There are also structures and complexes of structures, factories and industries that are still in operation. And they operate on this ancient technology that we said is way ahead of us. Other structures are close to the surface and just out of reach, while others lie in greater depths. None of this pollutes their environment. I know you're going to ask me if there are residents, if there are people who operate all these machines, and what exactly they do. Well, we have not figured out what exactly these complexes do, but they are self-managed. perhaps by some kind of advanced artificial intelligence. No matter how hard we searched, in the section we examined these few years, we found no residents. They probably live deeper, so we don't know how they are physiognomically and morphologically in terms of us. In the pilots I mentioned, in their manned aircraft, it's hard to tell because they're moving so fast that people doing their remote viewing had not practiced in a similar environment to stabilize their remote viewing inside the cockpit. Now, the first leg is based on enough information from wikipedia.org to set the stage for writing a fantasy and fiction article, while the second leg inspired and other extras from Richard Dolan Press and the Wall Street Journal and The Man Who Stares at Goats. I've translated this for you from a Greek article, and it's a sci-fi fantasy writing fiction article. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.